Part of the reason why I wear this shirt is to cover up the terrible sunburn I have on this one side. It's so ridiculous. Like a beautiful day, beautiful here. I don't know how it is.
Oh, it's gorgeous. I took a walk during my lunch break because I had to for my mental health.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Yeah, highly recommend taking time for yourself and your mental health. But we went to the beach. The water, of course, is cold, so we didn't get in the water. But it wasn't very windy. Uh, it was like maybe the winds were like maybe like 5 or 6 miles an hour, like a nice cool breeze, not like beating down on you. And it's not wasn't overcast, and so it was beautiful outside. I think the high was like 83. Um, the UV index only got up to 5, which is why I'm annoyed that I got sunburn on one side. Um, but we did that, and then we came back, and at like the peak of the day, so it's probably like 1 o'clock. I had to go outside to disconnect propane tank so I could take it to go get it filled, and that's probably when I got sunburned
Of course, of course.
because it was just like the one side that I had a tank top on.
So
Now I have like this tank top line.
you got that farmer's stand just like on one side. It's fantastic.
It's like so terrible. It's like I was like, of course, like I'm at the beach, no shirt on, everything's getting evenly toasted. I'm like rotating to turn with the sun to watch my kids. And I come home to do something for like 5 or 10 minutes, just real quick, just disconnect the propane tank. I have to take the cover off the grill and everything, but my left side is towards the sun at that part in our house. So of course it gets baked like right there. Like it came inside and like I can't it showed dudes. She's like, oh, she's like, you got a bad sunburn just on one side of your body right now. It's like awesome. Excellent. Um, but it kind of leads me into what I want to talk to you about. So,
Yeah.
questions.
Questions? You got questions? Perhaps I have answers.
When this episode airs, it will be episode 52.
I thought you were going to say 69. That's the reason you were excited to talk to me. But it's a family show,
It is a family show.
except when I open my mouth.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I clicked the explicit button for a reason. So, no, 52. So a whole year of podcast episodes has gone in. A whole year of us talking about nutrition and fitness topics. Also, especially things that can apply to your nutrition and fitness that aren't necessarily nutrition and fitness related. Like we talked about sleep, which is not our least listened to episode ever.
Yeah. So what is the least listened to one now? Because I'm happy that people are
Um,
latching onto that one.
I have it pulled up over here. I can tell you. Scroll. There's a lot of episodes to scroll through. I gotta scroll to the bottom. Our least listened to episode is our very first episode.
Okay, I'm perfectly fine with that. That to me makes sense. I'm down with that. All right.
Yeah, that was the "What's your nutrition and fitness story?" So like, how
So
do
people don't care about us. They care about results. They care about nutrition and fitness. That's what I gather from that.
our
What can you do for me?
yeah, our top 3 episodes are all tied together currently, and it's what the fad diet is that, nutrition and fitness when you're sick, and alcohol and nutrition and fitness. So,
That makes sense. Fad diets are always popular. We're both always sick.
honestly, too.
And I love booze, as do you. So there you go. All right, that checks out.
So, but because it's a whole year of doing this, and we've talked about how long do you run programs and how like what we're currently doing with our fitness and stuff. But if you had to think back and you had to go all the way back to when you first started doing like nutrition and fitness stuff, if you had to start over, what would be the first program that you would run? Now, knowing everything that you
Ooh, ooh.
if you had to go back,
So like 15, 16-year-old me, if I could talk to him and go, hey, like first things first, like here's what I would do.
this is the base program you need to set up and go with.
I would honestly, legitimately just say any program because I think I was like a lot of people where it's like just get in there and start throwing weight around, like figure it out, and then we always talk about kind of the bro sciencey stuff. Like then it was like, okay, well, I'll start picking up, hopefully we don't end up getting a sponsorship from like Muscle and Fitness or Flex or like, the other popular like magazines. And I'd pick them up and like see a program. And, I started out working out at home. So, I had very limited stuff. I had like a bench and some, adjustable dumbbells and like a sort of shitty lat pull down
You have
attachment and
like
stuff.
spin lock dumbbells, like the
Yeah, yeah, like the suit, yeah, like just the Walmart fitness department stuff. So like kind of just screw around, figure it out on my own. Then I go, okay, let's start reading this stuff, and you see one program, run that. I say with loose terms, like to kind of just messing around for a month, and you're like, okay, well, let's find the next one on the newsstand or get a subscription, and then like, oh, I like this program too. Let's do that, and then so there was never really any structure for the first like at least year that I was working out. So I think if I could talk to that guy that started out working out, it's like just do something and stick to it for like a month, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, like just something, just so because like when I train people, I'm big on being able to see progress. Like we've talked about before, like you have to be able to gauge progress. And so if you're constantly changing up stuff and that quote muscle confusion we hear about, there's no research for, like you don't know what's you don't know if you're progressing or not. Like if you're not measuring it, so there was no way to know, hey, I'm getting stronger or not. Like so, just stick with something like any program, whether it was like, see, I got Arnold's book sitting right here, like sticking with that or just whatever. Just run a program and do it. And just see some results.
yeah. I did run one of the Arnold programs out of the Bible to bodybuilding. Um, when I first started really concentrating in the gym, like trying to be more specific with it, then when I was in like high school and stuff, because then the workouts weren't dictated by me, they were dictated to me. And while that is good for a lot of people in the starting game, like if you had no like background in it, kind of like how you were talking about you, where you just did it on your own. Um, if I had no background and I had to start from the beginning, I do think that Arnold was a good kind of base.
Yeah, because there's a lot. It's a lot of compound like core lifts, like stuff you need to learn how to do on any program. So yeah, I think that's definitely
Right.
a good starting point.
Yeah, but I think I would do something more like 5 by 5. That'd be
And that's the reason, yeah, it's often suggested, yeah, a lot to beginners.
yeah, and with like all of the lifts, I all the big basic ones, squat, bench, deadlift, but then also like bicep curls, tricep press downs, extensions, all those things. Like really hammer in the motion and making sure that the form is perfect. The amount of people I see with small injuries are more frequent bad form.
Absolutely.
It's not like you went too heavy or you
Yeah, it's not like even just
crazy
like
exercise.
compensating because you're trying to like, yeah, do a cheat curl or something. It's like literally, yeah, just the mechanics aren't properly there, like even with a lighter weight.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine. She's been working out for a long time, and she recently um, injured her like mid or lower trap. And I was like, "What were you doing?" And she did. It was either I think it was deadlifts or like power cleans or something. It wasn't. No, it wasn't power cleans. It was deadlifts. That's what it was. Because I asked if it was a power clean. That would make sense. Like you're doing like a
That makes a lot more sense. Yeah.
motion kind of thing, but it was deadlifts. I'm like, how'd you hurt that on a deadlift? And it's just because her shoulders are so far forward in front of her legs when she starts off the floor. I was like, oh, like you're pulling with your trap off the floor. Like that's
Uh,
gonna hurt. Like you need to bring your shoulder blades back and down, lock those things in.
so you're kind of rounding out. She's probably closer to like the general population that we all sit here rounded out all the time, and there's not enough. Yeah, makes
And
sense.
And it's just because she's just now kind of getting into trying to do the big lifts. And so, like, yeah, you need to like focus on the form, drop the weight, focus on the form, lock it in, get that correct. Um, which if you're doing 5x5, that would probably be really tricky. You probably need to do something that's closer to like 20 reps of weights that you can't screw it up. But I feel like people early on, like think about when we were in uh college and we were doing the shred workouts, and you're trying to get through a workout that probably should take an hour and 20 minutes, and you're cramming it into an hour. Like the
Right.
speed
Right.
of some of those reps was not good.
Yeah, you're like, hey, we're trying to do it before an 8 a.m. class or in between classes, and it's like,
We need to get on the road to get to insert random city that is far.
God, yeah. I was talking with somebody the other day. It was funny. I was like, yeah, I was like, back in college, like I saw Ryan more than I saw anybody else because like we would work out, we'd go to shows, then we'd work out again and go to like we were working out before every class. We were hanging out on the weekend. It was just like, yeah, like
It was nuts. Uh, Sometimes I laugh about it when I think back, "Hey, how did I get all that done?" And then fast forward to now, and you're the same way. We have a lot of things that we're doing, um, and then when you when you're not doing any of those things, when you're off, like what did I do when I was off? I go so far back, I can't remember what I used to do to like relax or do nothing.
well, it's like I was telling somebody the other day too. I was talking about how like talking about that like my senior year, I was literally putting in 18-hour days between everything that I was doing. And I said that I did that so I wouldn't have to do that later in life.
And
I was like, by the time I'm 36, I'll reap the rewards of it. And now I'm like, God.
yeah, are you still working out 6 days a week right now?
Yeah, I've got a week and a half left.
Yeah. Oh, and so that's another thing. If I was starting over, I'd just do 3 days a week. I wouldn't do 5 days a week. I would start 3 days a week, do total body kind of thing, 5x5.
I'm trying to remember when I started. Like, I think I was doing 3 or 4 days a week when I started out
Oh,
because like it was so unstructured. I think I was doing because I think I was doing 3 days a week, I believe, because I think I knew enough to know, hey, I think I was doing like sort of total body, and like I knew I needed a rest. So it was literally like lifting, and then I would just like walk and jog and run forever on the treadmill. Like I was just like, hey, just get to moving. So I'd lift and do that. And I remember I would watch like whole like episodes of Raw, like when I was doing cardio. So I would get like 2 hours of cardio in.
yeah, I don't man. I know that I followed the split in Arnold, right? So chest, back, legs, shoulders, arms. Like that is still burned in my brain. I can probably tell you the exercises that are in order on the
Oh
chest.
yeah, same, yeah.
Um,
That typical, yeah, bro bodybuilder split. Yeah.
and I mean, it makes sense. The Bible came out in like the original version of it came out in like 80 something.
Right.
I'm talking about like the Bible encyclopedia.
The
Uh,
Bible. No, the actual Bible.
yeah. Well, so I'm not going to even get into that right
Mo-
now.
Moses said, I have these 10 lips. That's, yeah.
These are the 10 lifts. It starts with the bench press. So, yeah, tips to a bigger bench. Go to Mount Sinai and get a tab.
Moses and the burning quads. Yeah, that's like, that's,
Whisper to me the bar. Uh, Take off your sandals. You are standing on holy ground. This is where 1,000-pound squat was performed. Uh, the only 2,000-pound squat ever done. Yeah, that man, that's nuts. I think about that sometimes with people that have these freakish totals, then compare it to what my most recent one was, and it's like mine was a third of their total. Like The guy that
And like I don't know, you'll say the same thing and you'll agree, and it's so hard though. Like your only competition is yourself. Like,
oh yeah,
but it is so difficult. And it's so ego driven with lifting. You're like you look at other people and you
yeah,
never know what somebody
comparison's
else is
not
doing.
good for anybody, and it's just the crazy. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like the craziness. Like I'm comparing to myself. Like that's my 880 is where I'm currently at, right? But um, these guys that are doing the crazy powerlifting totals, like I think the current record's like raw, quote unquote raw in powerlifting currently is sleeves and a belt. Um, and the current world record total, I want to say somewhere around 2,600 pounds.
It's crazy. But then there's somebody that's looking at your 880 that's like starting out right now. Like, man, I can't wait till I get to my three totals 880. So like it's all relative.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not all relative, but it is relative to you. But the I my I'm not saying that man, I'm weak or anything like that, but it's just amazing the amount of work that has to go to somebody that has 2,600. And if I had to go back to the beginning and I was just lifting the bar, and I've had to go back to the beginning frequently over the last several years where uh, various things have happened, and I have been out of training so long that I need to start over. Um, and what I do is 3 days a week, total body, and I go really lightweight, make sure the bar path is correct, stay focused, stay hungry. Arnold movie, great, recommend. But it's actually not that good, but I enjoy it anyways. Um,
Blasphemy. There's no such thing as an Arnold movie that's not that good. Except for Batman and Robin, but it's not an Arnold movie.
um, but I think that if I had to go back to the beginning, that's what I would stick with. I would stick with total body, 5 by 5, just do like 4 or 5 exercises for total body. You could do my favorite thing is 6 movements. There's like a 6 movement
Yeah.
focus. You can do that. And um just one exercise in each of those 6 movements. Those are the 6 movement body patterns. And you do 3 days a week, you can choose different planes with that movement. Like you could do uh like a sagittal plane, like frontal back, like you can get all the different pieces in there if you wanted
Yeah,
to.
like when I program for beginners, and I want to put like a blanket statement because it is like it even every beginner is different. But like if I had to write a blanket program for a beginner, I do 3 days a week. I don't do the 5 by 5. I typically do higher rep because like like you said to kind of get that form down. I typically do like 3 by 12 or 3 by 15 to get that. That way we're not overly doing it. Because the last thing I want to do for a beginner, even though like beginning me would have probably enjoyed this, not everybody does. The last thing I want to do for a beginner is like they get out of the bed the next morning and they're sore as hell. Like
Yeah, yeah.
it's like I remember like the first time when I was 15, I worked out with another professional wrestler when I started training, and like they knew how to properly train. They were like early 20s, like actually like jacked wrestler. And here's this 15-year-old kid, he's showing how to work out. And I remember I could not fully extend my arms the next day after doing bicep curls. Like, but I thought it was cool. I was like, all right, this is awesome. Like, but like not everybody feels that way.
Yeah, this is how it's supposed to be. I can't
I'm supposed to be
turn
so
around.
sore every time I work out.
I'm gonna reach for the toilet paper.
It's like I'm gonna look like him tomorrow. Like this is clearly how it works.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that would be great. We'd all be like jacked and fed stars now. But either way, uh, I think that would be. I had to go back to the beginning, and then on the nutrition side of things, when I started and I really focused on like how would I do those things, I usually did like chicken, white rice, broccoli, the staple bodybuilder diet, chicken, rice, and broccoli.
I think anybody that's picked up like any sort of bodybuilding book or anything, yeah, that's what they start with. Because all you ever hear is chicken rice broccoli. Yeah.
Yeah. And if I had to go back now, um, I don't think I would do any of that. I don't think I would have altered my diet at all. I would just continue to eat whatever I wanted and work out.
Well, like, so when I started, like we've talked about before, I was an overweight kid. So like when I started, and you're living at home when you're 15, you don't have a lot of control over what you're eating. So like when I lost weight, it was literally I was eating the same crap, but just eating less of it. So it was like learning portion control and proper portion sizes. And then when I was out on my own, yeah, it became chicken, rice, and broccoli. And then like you kind of figured it out before I did because I'll always remember like when we were on the road and like we'd stop at Burger King and I'd either have stuff prepped or I would go, hey, can you, two grilled chicken sandwiches, and I'd take the bun off and just eat the friggin' chicken and be miserable. And here's Ryan with his Whopper and fries, and I'm
The
like, I hate you. Look, I've got a, like, and I still like I meal prep a lot, like still, and like when I go to shows, I always have my container with me. It's funny, like because there's always people that are like much more jacked than I am that are like whatever. But like there's a guy friend of mine that's actually signed to AEW now, they would always laugh because he's just like jacked and huge. And he'd walk into shows and I'd be sitting there eating my chicken and rice and broccoli. And he'd walk in with like his two like Wendy's doubles and fries and stuff. And he's like, look at Cells over here with his with his meal prep. I'm like, it's like I hate you. Like
Yeah, everybody's different in how they approach the nutrition game, but I I feel like there's a lot of demonization around food.
absolutely. No, I was just having this conversation with a client at my one of my 5 million different endeavors we have. Yeah, I was having this client have a conversation earlier today about not demonizing food.
Yeah, and there's everything can fit, right? I really love the if it fits your macros approach. But I don't think if I was in the beginning that I would actually track them. I did then. I don't think I would now.
I'm a big fan of like for beginners, and again, like I said, for me, beginning a lot of it was like from a weight loss perspective, and that's also still what I still work with a lot. I'm a big fan of the my plate approach because it's a very simple approach to it. So you look at that plate, quarter lean protein, quarter whole grain, half veggies. Boom, we're done. You're not having to like inundate your brain with like having a track and weigh and everything. Like if you can do that, you do that 3 times a day, throw some snacks in there, pre and post workout snacks, whatever. Like boom, you're done. Like it's awesome.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, like a more intuitive eating approach.
Absolutely. And that's the reason I track, like for instance, right now, like I'm cutting a little bit, even though I've gotten a little lax over the past like week or two. But like I track during that time to get an idea, and then I can intuitively eat with that. And it'll be the same thing when I'm maintaining, same thing when I'm bulking. So I'm like, okay, track for a while. All right, I know what my diet looks like. Cool. And then I'll stop tracking, I'll maintain until like the goal changes or until I feel like I've hit a plateau or whatever, because nobody wants to track food forever. And I don't feel like tracking food's a sustainable long-term approach to track everything you eat every day. Like, screw that.
Right. At certain points, and I do this with clients too, if you're there's two things that it gets harder to do um in the very beginning, kind of what your goals are, depending on what they are. Uh Tracking all of your food, because you have to track everything. And people frequently not track everything. And it, why is stuff's not happening? I'm like, I see that you did not track 2 meals in this entire week, and there's no snacks listed anywhere for any of these days. Like there's probably something in there that's
Yeah, if somebody who hasn't tracked starts tracking and does it correctly, it's so eye-opening. Like I had a client a couple weeks ago, weight loss client, weight had stalled out. She's like, I don't really know why, like I'm not losing weight. Like I don't know why I'm plateauing. It's like, hey, would you be cool if we just tracked for the next week? Yeah, sure. Like I can track. Literally the next day, she's like, I figured it out. She's like, I didn't realize every time I'm going to the kitchen, I'm mindlessly just snacking. And it was adding up to like 300, 400, 500 calories a day. It's just, I stopped doing that. All of a sudden I started losing weight again. It's not magic.
yeah. And that's what I'm saying. So like if I went back to the beginning, and I didn't have to I wouldn't track anything if I was just intuitively eating. Um, I do think my goal in the beginning, way back in the beginning, was to get bigger. I know yours was to lose weight. Mine
I'll
was,
say, yeah, we had very differing approaches.
but with both of those approaches, if tracking wasn't involved, I still think either of us could have achieved our goal. Like if I didn't track anything, which I mean, I followed the Arnold diets in that book.
Jesus.
I I had never had poached eggs before in my life. I had to go to the library to look it up.
Because like he's got like shakes in there that have like 100 grams of protein, like
Oh
in
yeah.
like one sitting.
Is there any wonder why I ended up with kidney stones? But that's a different discussion. That was pre-dietetics major, Ryan, and just falling in love eating way too much protein and not enough fluids. But if I didn't track anything, I would talk about like looking at our previous episode thing about measures of success, like use just utilizing the mirror. Like, am I bigger? Do I look like I'm getting bigger? What about over like weeks over time? To see like changes on the scale. Um, Same thing with you. Like, if you are you getting smaller?
Yeah, it
You
was, and that was like a lot of my measurement was the big thing, and it's the same thing I recommend to a lot of my clients was clothes. Like I was down to like 2 shirt sizes, and it's like, hey, I must be doing something right if I'm in a medium shirt now and it wasn't an XL. Funny how that works.
yeah. And so that, like I said, that's what I would do from the nutrition side of things. I do intuitive eating, and I wouldn't track anything. Um, and it is tricky to do. I will say that, like knowing I'm full now, I'm not hungry. Do I really want to eat more?
Yeah, like mindful intuitive eating, I think's an acquired skill. I don't think it comes very natural for most people. Like it does, you do have to actually focus on it, and it's an interesting take, and it's a very beneficial skill to have.
Yeah, and so it's trickier to do if you're trying to lose weight. It's easy to do if you're trying to gain weight. Um, so, like, just keep eating.
Right.
Um, but like I said, if I had to go back to the beginning, total body, um, 3 days a week for fitness, and I wouldn't track anything. I just intuitively eat.
Yeah, I would probably say 3 days a week. And yeah, just for me, like again, we talked about different goals. Yeah, 3 days a week and portion control.
Yeah. So for those of you out there, this episode is going to come out in March. It's going to be our 52nd episode, starting over. Like, it's another year of nutrition and fitness that we're moving into. Um, so for those of you out there listening, if you're starting anew, what would you do differently? Now that you've had some time in and you've thought about it, those others of you, if you are just getting started, head on over to franchisenutritionandfitness.com, sign up for your free meet and greet. Let's go ahead and get you rolling into what program that you're going to do to help you achieve whatever goal that you want to.
Yeah, you don't have to fly by the seat of your pants like Ryan and I did. Like there's a lot more information out there, and there's services out there that we are more than happy to help you, and we'll hack the system for you, and we'll take the guesswork out.
Yeah, like we say every week, maximize every bite.
Maximize every rep.